It seemed like a normal Thursday at the Letcher County Courthouse in Kentucky. Inside, folks were gathering in Judge Kevin Mullen's chambers as he was holding court with his friends. In fact, that crew went to lunch in downtown. But after lunch, everything changed. This normal day was turned upside down when Sheriff Mickey Stein shot and killed the judge in his chambers on camera. It was a scary, surreal moment for everyone. And tonight, for the first time, we will see the video of the moment the sheriff surrenders to police. But first, it was Thanksgiving of 1998 when Norma Patton said goodbye to her daughter Melissa and told her she loved her. That would be the last conversation they would ever have. Melissa went missing, and for years it remained a mystery. But in reality, part of that mystery was solved quickly when some of her remains were recovered, chopped up in black trash bags in Atlanta, Georgia, not far from where she lived. But for several years, those remains were unidentified until 2003, when the Flint River killer was arrested, a man who admitted to being a serial killer. That man is Melissa's father. Well, the mystery continued even after she was identified, as it would take years, decades, for someone to actually be charged with Melissa's murder. But it wasn't her serial killer father. Instead, it was her husband, Christopher Wolfenbarger. Wolfenbarger is now on trial, and today the jury heard from the serial killer's wife, the mother of the victim, Melissa. And we have all the big moments from this dramatic day of testimony.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And you know, I've been here for a while and seen a lot of things, a lot of different scenarios. But the amazing thing about working at Court TV and covering the nation's biggest trials is that, you know, you always come across something that you didn't expect and something you've never seen before. This case is one of those. We're talking about a case involving a serial killer. But in the trial involving a serial killer, the serial killer and his family are the victims in the case. What? Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. So let's talk about serial killers and their families. And BTK, one of the most notorious serial killers, his daughter has done such an amazing job through the years in helping law enforcement, in gathering evidence against her own father once she found out that her father was BTK and was a serial killer. But it wasn't easy for her. Not at all. I mean, she's been going through a lot. She's been on the show. But really an amazing young woman who's able to persevere through all of that. Imagine that your father is BTK, but she's come out on the other side, and I think she's doing okay. I think she's doing okay. Now let's talk about the Flint River killer, Carl Patton. This guy, 5 murders that he's admitted to back in the 70s. Now, this guy, cold-blooded killer. Killer for hire, you know, much like the Iceman, who was a notorious hitman up in the New York, New Jersey area. This guy not quite as prolific, at least as to what he admitted to. He has subsequently passed away, but this was a big case in Georgia. And the Flint River killer's daughter, Melissa, went missing. But she's missing, and no one's really looking for her. So if your father is a serial killer, but nobody knows it, and you go missing, would your father, the serial killer, you know, knock on the door of law enforcement and say, hey, can you find my daughter? But don't look into me, because if you look into me, you might find some things that wouldn't be so good for you. It's really a strange scenario where a serial killer has a missing child. What's even stranger is if you marry the serial killer's daughter. And that's what this guy did, Chris Wolfenbarger. He didn't know that he was a serial killer, though. Could you imagine how this would normally turn out, right? You would normally think, well, if I marry a serial killer's daughter and part of the allegations here is that he was abusing her and beating up on her. Could you imagine how that would normally turn out? Like, I would think we'd be covering the trial of the serial killer who killed his wife's abuser, but we're not. We're covering the trial of the wife's alleged abuser, who was also her alleged murderer, her own husband. So that's where we are in this case. Today, big day, because the serial killer's wife, the mother of the victim, Melissa, Norma Patton, testified today. She began her testimony. And think about the place where she was in. She cooperated with law enforcement to help convict her husband because she knew that he was a serial killer. She made sure she got immunity, but with that immunity, she testified against her husband. But here, in this case, she's testifying as a victim of murder. Her daughter is the one. Take a listen.
You mentioned in 2003 that you made contact with lead detective Adelson Calhoun. Was that when Melissa's remains were identified?
Yes.
Okay. Was there anything else that happened in 2003 of significance?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
Melissa's father was arrested.
Okay. What was he arrested for?
He was arrested for murder.
All right. And was there a name associated with your husband, Carl Patton? Was there a nickname associated with him?
Yes.
And what is that nickname?
His nickname was Hotshot.
A nickname, another nickname specifically, a national nickname associated with your husband. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And what is that name?
The Flint River murders.
Okay, all right. And so you're familiar with that name?
Yes.
All right. Now, had they arrested you as well at this time?
No, I was not under arrest.
Okay. And at any point, did you make any request
Yes,
after
I
Carl
did.
Patton was arrested?
Yes.
What was that request?
Bruce Jordan wanted me to help him and to talk to him about what Carl had done, and I told him if he wanted my help, that he needed to find my daughter.
Okay.
Because she was missing.
Okay. And so that request in 2003, and then you have the subsequent identification of the remains in that same year. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
How soon, if you can recall, how soon do we have that interview to where we get the identification?
Carl was arrested on the morning of February 23rd, and I was told on March 17th that Melissa had been found and ID'd.
Okay. What did you do after that? Now, going back to the request that you made of the detectives, did that end that investigation for you? Did you have to resolve any criminal cases yourself related to that Carl Patton homicide?
Yes, I did. I had to testify against him and tell them, answer their questions.
Okay. And so you testified against Carl Patton?
Yes, I did.
She loves her serial killer husband. She did. To me, that's very obvious from that part of the testimony. It was difficult for her to admit that she had to do that, but she also did get immunity when she testified. So let's talk about what we're dealing with here and what this jury is dealing with and what this investigation is like when you are investigating the murder of a serial killer's daughter. I'm joined in studio by trial attorney Kylee Hyman. She's also the host of Once Upon a Crime in Hollywood, incredible podcast. And also joining us, here he is, retired Atlanta police homicide detective. You know him from television. He's also the host of the Murder Mind show. Vince Velasquez is with us. Unbelievable to have both of you here tonight. Vince, let me just start with you because I'm still trying to get my mind around this. The victim is the daughter of a serial killer who's just been arrested, and apparently the family, the serial killer and his wife, are really like, listen, you need to solve this murder. That's a strange circumstance, right? I mean, like, I've never seen or heard anything quite like that.
Yeah, I haven't either. I was in homicide for almost 2 decades. Never saw a case like this. The fact that her father was a serial killer, it's really inconsequential when it comes to what happened to her. But anytime a case is high profile, the residuals that come with that, a detective has to know some things are going to happen. And the fact that, this poor victim's mother basically said, I'm not going to cooperate against this other investigation against my husband until I get some attention to my missing daughter. And my understanding is that and Carl Patton himself telling investigators, you got me, but I also want you guys to find my missing daughter. So now all of a sudden, this is on a spotlight. This is something where 2 agencies are working together, and the Atlanta detectives know that this thing is going to get some press.
Yeah, get some press to say the least. All right, so Kylee, now we're at trial, right? And so the jury is getting all this. Like, they're getting bombarded with this. I can't imagine what it's like for them getting all this information at once. And it's obvious that the defense is going to say, there's a serial killer involved here. This is reasonable doubt. Like, just, he's a serial killer. How difficult do you think will it be for a jury to get over that hump, to focus like Vince and the investigators focused on what happened, they believe, to Melissa?
It could be potentially really hard, especially when the defense is going to point fingers at the serial killer father. Look in that direction. Look at the shiny object over here. Look at him.
It's as shiny as it gets, right? Usually they're pointing the finger at anyone, just anyone. But they get to point the finger at a literal serial killer.
Yes, it's absolutely true. It's like, let's distract, let's focus on that. But then also, let's look at the mom as well. She got immunity, and she testified against her own husband. Was she involved in this? They can definitely gonna argue that as well.
Yeah, Vince, to me, that's a big part, right? If you gotta catch a case like this, you gotta look at the serial killer first, right? I mean, you gotta look at everybody, but you absolutely gotta make sure that it's not the serial killer or anyone else in the family.
So as a homicide detective, you have to think like a defense attorney. What are they going to ask us on the stand? Who are they going to point the finger to? And now you have this bright, shiny object, as she so eloquently described. You have an alternate suspect, a man who has killed people, who has admitted to killing people. And now we know historically there have been cases where parents have actually killed their children, adult children and children themselves. So, this is kind of like a gift to the defense to draw a distraction for the jury, to try to, raise some doubt, because that's all it takes. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. But I think there is no evidence that shows that her father had anything to do with her murder. And my understanding, I know these detectives, I work with them, he was absolutely ruled out. So the prosecution, I don't think they're going to have a tough job convincing a jury that it was not her father, and then focus back on the husband.
Yeah, because I think you have to do both at the same time. You've got to prove that it wasn't him while you're proving that it is, in fact, the husband. Let's take a listen to some more testimony from Norma Patton.
At any point, do you make any attempts to contact law enforcement?
Not right away. I did when another month or so, I guess. It actually took me till the whole year of 1999 to be able to convince everybody that something was wrong.
Okay. When you say everybody, who were you trying to talk to?
Just friends and family. And
That's a head scratcher for me, Kylee. They all live in Metro Atlanta, right? Like, it takes a year to convince people that something's wrong. If no one has heard from her daughter, should the jury believe her here, that she was out there trying to convince people that, hey, my daughter's missing?
Well, the counter argument to that is that the daughter Melissa used to send cards for the holidays, for anniversaries. And so the mother didn't hear from her for a little while, that she thought that was normal. And then she didn't get a card from her. And then because of that, she was trying to find out where she is. Now, the counter argument to that is that maybe she knew something. Maybe she thought that the husband did it, that the husband was involved, so she didn't say anything because she was worried that he killed her. Or maybe she was involved some way, somehow. Ultimately, the jury will make that determination.
Yeah. That rubs me the wrong way. Let's take a listen. Let me ask you, Vince, though, if the daughter's missing and no one, like the husband's not, like, you know, sounding the alarm, the family's not really sounding the alarm, it's just strange that someone just disappears out of their life and no one's like wondering, you know, where is she?
That's right. So the mom reports her missing, and the way this works is people are reported missing in Atlanta and other major cities every day. Sometimes they're not missing. Sometimes people want to be missing. There was a history of some domestic violence between Melissa and her husband. So I don't really understand, besides the mom raising the red flag and waving it, that the police department didn't look at the husband. I'm not sure whether or not he was interviewed. I'm sure he was. But the fact that she's missing and no one is really calling. I've had cases, and while I worked in homicide and missing persons, where the family members are calling constantly. And I'm not trying to dismiss what anybody did or didn't do, but it's true that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And a lot of times when people are really telling law enforcement, we feel there's something nefarious with this. It's not just a missing person. She goes missing all the time, and she's never done that before. And this is really an anomaly for her to do that. And they are not really just calling in and saying, hey, I think it's the husband. I think something happened. That is a little bit of a head scratcher to me. So I'd be interested to know exactly what communication was going on between not just the husband and law enforcement, but also her mother.
Yeah, and I can understand why a serial killer wouldn't want to call law enforcement. Like, I get it. I get it. Let's take a look at the arrest of the husband. We have some of the body cam video. Let's watch.
Tell him I need a gun. He's in here. On the other side, you'll be able to see him. Talk to him. Talk to him.
Chris, come out with your hands up, dude. You know you're in the garage behind the line thing.
Come out now.
Yo.
Partner, come out now.
Jason, Chris, come on out, buddy. Got to.
You good enough?
Hey, bring the dog out.
Where?
Yeah, bring the dog
He's inside of that.
inside this package?
Yes, you'll see an opening on the other side. Yeah. He's kind of hunched over like this.
Hiding like in the movable wine rack. Oh, they're never going to find me here. Kylee, does this demonstrate a consciousness of guilt to the jury that he's hiding from the officers?
a consciousness of some type of guilt, but of what he's being charged with, we don't know that. The fact that he's hiding, we're not sure if it's because of this. Now, we have to remember, this is a cold case, so 25 years have gone by. Does he have any idea the police are coming?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Vince, that's a strange scenario. Like, they're never going to find me here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I disagree with Kelly. No disrespect. This is the I got you moment. This is the oh crap moment. If you have nothing to worry about, and you clearly, they're law enforcement. You can hear radios going. He knows they're law enforcement. He's hiding. That's guilt-laden facts. They played this for the jury. The jury got to see this. This demonstrates his state of mind. Innocent people don't do that. Innocent people greet the police at the door and say, "Why are you here? Wait a minute, you want me to come with you? Okay, what's this all about?" So in my opinion, in my experience, like, this is crazy. This guy's hiding under a wine rack. Like, you're not going to find me. This is Detective O'Hare. I know him personally. This guy is the real deal. Like, he's not going to leave that place without this guy. They know he's there. And this defendant is literally hiding almost in plain sight. But in my opinion, my professional opinion, that's because he knows the gig is up.
Yeah. Let's take a listen now. This is a former neighbor testifying about what she noticed about this couple and about Melissa, the victim.
Did you ever speak to Chris about any of the arguing that you heard?
No, ma'am.
And were you friends with Chris at that time?
Yes.
Did there ever come a time when you no longer saw the woman at the house?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to Chris about not seeing her at the house anymore?
No, we just asked Chris where his wife was, and he said that she was leaving him.
How about that, Kelly?
Supposedly she went to California, but why did he go to the police? Why didn't he? She had young children, two beautiful young children. She's a mom. Can you imagine the thought of these kids thinking their mom abandoned them? I mean, why wouldn't he communicate with her, go to the police and try and find her? Yeah. That begs a question.
It absolutely does. Kelly Hyman, great to see you. Thanks so much for stopping in. Vince Velasquez, always a treat, host of the Murder Mind Show. And I'll see you out at CrimeCon, right? You going?
I'll be there.
All right, I will see you there. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll bring in our think tank. They are locked and loaded on this one. Plus, coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, he faced the man accused of slaughtering his own wife and son in South Carolina's Low Country and won. Tonight, prosecutor Creighton Waters joins us live. What will he reveal about taking down Alec Murdaugh? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Terrible. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial begins next week, only on Court TV.
Were you married?
Yes, sir.
Who were you married to?
Carl M. Patton, Jr.
All right. How many years were you guys married?
We were married 56 years, 6 months, and 8 days.
Who all was living in the house at that time?
Carl, myself, and Melissa.
Okay. And at that time, we're talking about going into high school, and when she meets the defendant, what was the relationship with Carl Patton and Melissa, your daughter?
They had a very good relationship. He would take her fishing.
He would take her fishing, didn't kill her. Would take her fishing. It was her husband that killed her. That's what Norma Patton is really telling this jury, right? Like, she's vouching for her serial killer husband, who she lived with for years, knowing that he was a killer because she ended up being an important witness against him. Let's bring in our think tank. Criminal defense attorney Peter Ellikin is with us. Also joining us, former law enforcement officer and host of the Strong Enough podcast, Claudia King, is with us, and family law attorney and law professor Randy Kessler. All right. Claudia, should this jury believe Norma?
I think the evidence will show that they should believe Norma. I don't know if just Norma on her own would be enough for them, but I think the prosecution is going to present evidence that shows they did successfully clear her husband of this crime and that Chris is the one who committed it. So I wouldn't give Norma, all the trust in the world on her own, but I think the evidence will show that in this case, we can believe her.
Peter, what are your thoughts here? I've never seen a scenario quite like this, right? Where you've got, you guys, you defense attorneys, you point the finger at whoever, right? You always got to find somebody. But here, the somebody you got is a serial killer.
Well, that's true. And actually, there's really strong arguments on both sides here. And this is most certainly a circumstantial case. But I guess the defense can say, look, well, first of all, it helps that it's 27 years later. They found the body years later, so they never got a murder weapon, never got a definite cause of death. There wasn't blood there, because it were basically just bones. So it becomes circumstantial. And then you can say, okay, father serial killer, mother helped cover up for it and testified. And so I think there's just kind of enough there for everybody. And certainly on the other side, clearly it looks very fishy and suspicious that his wife suddenly leaves, never reports it to anybody. She's not the kind of person who would leave her children there. And there's this history of abuse that she got a protective order against him once. The police had to show up. Different people mentioned bruising on the body. And you wonder why he wasn't under suspicion either. So what we do is we got kind of like strong circumstantial arguments on both sides here. And again, you bring up the old question of reasonable doubt. I suspect there's kind of something of a strong argument against him and for his guilt. But boy, he does have things to argue here. It's not an open and shut case.
Randy Kessler, but wait, there's more. Take a listen to the defense here talking about some evidence they're going to bring up on the cross-examination of the serial killer's wife, Norma.
We have evidence that there is a deal and production discussion of a Netflix documentary of the Patton family from the beginning all the way up to the sweep of the Wolfenbarger trial, and that potentially the video that's being streamed here will be used in that documentary. And I know that there's at least one potential witness who has signed a contract for money to be in that documentary.
Sounds like fodder for cross-examination.
It is, but am I going to be limited to asking Norma Patton, for example, for whom I don't have evidence of that yet, on cross with an open question? Or can we get some assurance ahead of time? Because that would be Brady material if she has signed a contract or otherwise agreed to be in a documentary for which she stands to gain financially.
Well, certainly it goes to her credibility and would be, as I said, fodder for cross-examination.
Randy Kessler, what does the jury do with this? She's the wife of a serial killer. She got immunity to testify against him, but she knew about it for decades. And now she perhaps has got to deal with Netflix?
Boy, to be the judge in this case, right? Judge Krause is one of the best judges we have. And they've got Don Samuel backing up the main lawyer, right? Don Samuel, who represented Tex and just got him the appellate victory. I mean, there's some serious stuff here and some serious stuff for the defense to use. I agree very much with Peter. You got a balancing act. And when you have a balancing act, that's a civil kind of standard. You tip the scales a little bit. It can't be a balancing act. It's got to be all the way for the prosecution. And so far, it's not. If I'm on the jury, I'm asking, why did it take them that long? Why did it take them that long? Oh, because they had to give somebody immunity to come in and testify, the wife of a serial killer? I mean, they've got some good stuff to work with as a defense counsel and as a defense team.
Let's take a listen to some more of the background involving Norma Patton.
Melissa's father, Carl Patton, committed a string of murders in the late 1970s. He was suspected of those murders for a long time. He was investigated, but they were not prosecuted and proved until 2003, 4 years after Melissa's disappearance and death. You'll be presented with evidence that Norma Patton, his wife, helped him directly commit at least 2 of those murders, to dispose of the bodies, to clean up the crime scenes, and to wrap up the bodies and dispose of them in ways that are somewhat similar to the way Melissa's remains were found.
Okay, so Claudia, I think what the defense is doing is saying, listen, you know, if he did it, she's in on it because she helps him do it. How is this is very messy and very unusual. It's a lot for this jury to take in, but I guess prosecutors got to get them focused on the husband, but the serial killer's over here and his wife is over here.
And we're not supposed to look in any of those directions. It is so incredibly messy. And, you know, you can look at some of the serial killer stats, and they do rarely harm their family, anywhere from 1 to 16% of the time. So likely it's not him, but I do think it throws in an enormous amount of reasonable doubt, especially when you do have Norma, who did participate in some of those murders. So we might be able to trust some of the things she says, but you know, I do see the reasonable doubt here. This jury is going to have a tough time because it's been so long. Witnesses don't remember a lot of things. We've already heard some of them saying, yeah, I don't remember that. Maybe I said that. I can't remember. It was 20 years ago. I mean, this serial killer is the best defense that the defense has. And I think it is reasonable doubt because it's hard to put somebody in jail for murder when you're just not 100% sure.
All right. Obviously, our coverage of this case will continue. There's going to be the cross-examination of Norma. That'll happen likely on Monday. We'll be all over it. Think Tank staying with us when we come back. Like I said at the top of the show, every time we come to Court TV, every day, it's something new, something I've never seen before. How about this one? The sheriff in Kentucky who shot the judge in his chambers on camera. Tonight, we've got some new video, plus he was in court today. All the latest coming up next.
I would ask the court, again, without waiving anything, I would ask the court to consider setting a bond. The court, of course, can do that at any time. You know, and that would be our requested bond, the $50,000 cash or property. Mr. Steins was a member of this community for his entire life, born and raised here. He has a great deal of family support through all of this, as the court can see. He has a wife and daughter that he can still go home to today. He was a member of law enforcement for basically his entire adult life, up until the point of his arrest. He's a respected member of law enforcement, a respected member of the community, and frankly, Judge, everything we've learned about him since then corroborates that. And I would have testimony to that effect. There's no evidence that he would be a flight risk. Nothing.
Sheriff Mickey Steins trying to get out on bond, making an application with his attorneys. He is the sheriff from Kentucky who shot the judge. We saw it. It's on video. This isn't a whodunit. It's a why did he do it. The state of his mental state coming into play in all of this. In an earlier motion, the sheriff is trying to get the results of his evaluation unsealed. So we'll see how that all plays out. In the meantime, let's bring in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, I understand we've uncovered some new video that we have not seen. We've seen so much of what happened that day, but there was one moment that we didn't see that tonight you're going to show us.
Absolutely, Vinny. So we see the surrender, the golden moment. But before that, to give it context, Vinny, we know that this happened September 19th of last year, 2024. It all started as a regular old day. Everyone showed up to work. Judge was there. Everyone was in
Normal
the courthouse.
Thursday.
A regular old sunny day in Whitesburg, Kentucky. They went to lunch right down the street at the local bar and grill. They came back from lunch. And when they came back, we know Steins got in his truck and drove around town, went somewhere. Then he returns around 2:35 p.m. And of course, we know within the 20-minute span after that, that's when everything went down. He walks back in, shakes hands with a couple of employees, goes in the chambers. There's about a 15-minute gap between when he saw the people at the front and then when he went back there and shot Steins, shot Mullins, walks back out of the courthouse. He walks outside just like nothing happened. Then he comes back in, and Vinnie, this is the golden moment when he walks back in from the courthouse. So everyone's just looking normal because this is the sheriff of the town. They don't think he would have done this. You know, people were flooding out of the courthouse, running away. Law enforcement was running past him. Clearly, they're already in there. They think it's not him. And then he walks in, takes his gun out. You see it in his right hand, lays it down. Hey, y'all, it's me. And you see the law enforcement here, they're kind of confused. Like, wait, this is Sheriff Steins. Like, he would not have shot Judge Kevin Mullins. And then it's almost as if they come to. He's telling them, yeah, boys, it was me. I'm laying on the ground. And they're like, oh, okay. Wow. So that's the surrender, Vinnie. This is the moment that we've all been waiting to see what it looked like when he walked back in, because we had not seen this angle or this shot at all before. Wow. Yeah, and you see, they were already
in there.
Be
shocked.
Right, and they were already in there expecting to see another perpetrator, somebody that maybe more so looks the part. And you see him, they're cuffing him.
And they know who he is.
It's a small town.
It's a small town. This is the sheriff. The sheriff walks in, puts his gun down, puts his hands up.
It's as if he's watched out of a wild movie, right?
Wow.
And so they walk him back over here, you know, sit him down, and he's just, his reaction is so calm. He's just shot the judge that he's known for an amount of years here. And then he walks back in, everyone's running past him, and now he's the culprit.
That is startling. I didn't know what I imagined that moment was going to look like. And he's got a gun in his hand.
Right, and then something else.
They've got their backs to him.
Yeah, not thinking it's him. And they're carrying those big old long guns, thinking they're about to, you know, take somebody else in, but then it's the sheriff. And Vinnie, there's one more piece of the video.
Okay.
So when they sit him down, they put him in those cuffs and sit him on the wall. Two women come up to him. You see them right here. He's standing there, and there's this woman sitting down in this gray T-shirt, seeming as if she's trying to talk to him, console him. You see the other law enforcement standing around, watching him sway back and forth as he's sitting there in those cuffs. She's getting emotional. Assume that she's part of the staff. You know, like we said, it's a small town. They know everyone, and she's probably shocked, just as shocked as everyone else, to find out that Sheriff Steins is the one who did this. You see this other woman walking up, shocked. This woman, she puts her arm around him. She's sitting there patting him down. You see her getting emotional there.
This is unusual. This is someone who is arrested for shooting a judge.
A judge that he knows, no less.
Yeah, but like, this is bizarre.
And you see her sitting there, it's like, Mickey, it's gonna be okay. Are you here? You saw her waving in front of him because, of course, his mental state is at question here.
Right.
And like she's trying to get his attention, like it's not the normal him that she knows. You see her all in his face.
She's counseling him. He is the killer.
Exactly.
Wow. That's powerful stuff.
Absolutely.
Powerful stuff. Cody Thomas, thanks so much. Let's bring back in our think tank. Still with us, Peter Allikin, Claudia King, and Randy Kessler. Let's get some reaction to that. Wow. Who wants to go for it? Randy, what did we just see there? Oh, Peter wants to go. Wait, hold that, Randy. Peter raised his hand. Go ahead, Peter. He's got something good for us. Go ahead.
It's like the second grade. Okay, I get to raise my hand. But, you know, if anything, it is so bizarre that it almost would help strengthen his insanity defense. I mean, first of all, not only was he sheriff, that he knows there's cameras, even when he shot the judge, there was a camera in there, but he was also a bailiff for years before then. So he knows that. The fact that he knows that he's committing a murder in front of the cameras, and then he comes back and does a confession and says, it's me, I would use that as an argument to strengthen the insanity defense. But again, as we've said many times before, jurors don't necessarily like the insanity defense. It rarely wins. And there's problems with that also because they'll say, look, he was functioning. He was out to lunch with people. He came back in to the place. Nobody noticed anything. You know, he's working at his job the whole time. So how can you say he's crazy?
Yeah.
So that's why there's arguments on both sides for insanity defense. But this one really does not make rational, logical sense on why he would do it knowing guaranteed he's going to get caught.
And then he surrendered himself.
Really no defense.
He comes in.
Which might be the same thing he did.
Randy, if he's under the guise of a delusion, and we've gotten pieces of what we think was going on, that he thought people were out to get his family, he must, in this, if he's in a delusional state, that delusion must be that once he takes out the judge, then his family must be safe. But he's not convinced of that. He's still wondering what's going on with his family. And I'm wondering why he surrendered himself without first making sure that his family was okay. To me, that's the bizarre part of this, if he's under a delusion.
Yeah, or maybe he really is saying, and he realizes somebody else is going to get shot. Somebody innocent's going to get taken out, because these guys are all on edge, right? If someone got into the chambers, past their security, shot their judge, they're going to look at somebody who even looks at them askew and maybe get trigger happy. So maybe he's thinking rationally. Maybe he's thinking, I got the guy I wanted. I don't want anybody else to be hurt. I'm coming in. Look, he came in behind them. Like you said, Vinny, he had a gun.
He's got a gun in his right hand. There it is. There it is.
And he's behind them. I mean, that helps the bond argument, right? Give him a bond because he's not going to hurt anybody else. But that bond argument, come on, yeah, he was a great guy, a great sheriff, and then he killed a judge in cold blood. No way should we trust that he's not going to flip out again and do something else again.
Yeah. Claudia, what are you seeing in this surrender?
Oh, it's surreal to me, because I have been in situations like this, you know, in a building searching for the shooter, and to have, you know, my chief of police or the sheriff walk in behind me and surrender, I can't even imagine. What I see in this video also, though, I think weakens that whole insanity argument, because he acts like a normal person would act. He takes his gun out, he sits it down, he puts his arms up, he does all the things that a normal, rational, sane person would do when they're surrendering. So to me, this video weakens that insanity argument. And I had trouble with his attorneys as well, talking about how respectful he is of the law. I think that was a misstep today, to say that in the courthouse when he just recently took out a judge in a courthouse on video.
Yeah, unreal case. Obviously, we are covering every development in it as it happens. This was a huge one today, and uncovering that video, which will play a huge role in the case. I mean, the shooting itself, but all the video and the buildup and everything that happened afterwards is all relevant to his state of mind. Big thank you, Peter Ellikin, Claudia King, Randy Kessler. Great to see you on this Friday night. We'll see you again soon. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, it was a trial that gripped the nation. Lies, murder, and betrayal in the Murdaugh family. Now, prosecutor Creighton Waters speaks out live. What secrets from inside the courtroom will he finally share? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV. Next week on Opening Statements.
A law professor gunned down, but was his mother-in-law behind the killing? Previewing the matriarch mastermind murder trial.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Going back to Tally. That's Donna Adelson. She's being transferred from the Crawfordville jail back to the Leon County Jail, which is in Tallahassee, which is where her trial will be. It all begins on Tuesday with jury selection, and obviously Court TV is the place to watch this trial. And closing arguments and DPI, the place to watch the best analysis. All right, folks, we have a missing child who needs your help. Please take a look at your television screens. This is Kylee Brister, just 14 years old, missing from Wichita, Kansas. This is what you need to do. If you see Kylee, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Wichita Police.
in Kansas. That number is on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Kylee to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.